The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
I like you, Philip. But be assured, bite my hand, and I will put you down. Your division is in charge of native crime. Or would you rather I was in charge of native crime? I don't think you'd like my methods.
That's Captain Widmark from Fringe, and this is Judge Rusty Johnston welcoming you to Armed Alabama for tonight, the 31st day of May, 2016. There we go. I'm here along with my co-host, Adam Strange. Adam?
Hey, Judge. Glad everybody could join us tonight for Armed Alabama. This show is about self-defense, firearm, ammo selection, home protection, concealed carry, training, proper range etiquette, and, of course, Alabama law and U.S. law and U.S. Constitution. If you want to call into the studio, our number is 251-343-0106. You can check us out on Facebook. It's Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. And, of course, our Twitter is Armed Alabama 106.5, and our website, which is a great source of information, and the judge posts a lot on the website, and that website is armedalabama.com. And, of course, we have a YouTube page, and that YouTube page, or YouTube channel, rather, is Armed Alabama. So there's a lot of video on there, a lot of information that the judge keeps up very well. It's very informative and entertaining as well.
And don't tweet us too much, because I don't think Adam knows the password and can get into the
I can still check it, but I just can't remember the password. All right. So if we have a lot of people that are first-time listeners, and we appreciate that. We get a lot of response on people just posting about the show on social media, on our page, on Twitter. So we're glad of that, and people posting, hey, I'm going to listen for the first time or whatever. But so if you're listening for the first time, not only do we do this show, Armed Alabama, but we also do self-defense classes, and we'll be hosting those periodically throughout the year. But we had an early one. We had one earlier this month at the beginning of May 9th, and that was at Three Brothers Range on Highway 59 North, on Highway 59 North near Stapleton, Alabama. We had a good class. The judge taught all about Alabama law, castle doctrine, and stand your ground.
And we sent our exams out the other day and got one back.
Great. So I do believe we'll be hosting another class June 25th. So tune in for more information on that in the coming weeks. Also, if you're interested in that class, you can email myself or the judge. It'll be Adam at Armed Alabama, or the judge at Armed Alabama, if you would like more information on those classes, or if you would want us to put you on our distribution list, and that way we'll keep you informed of anything that we're doing in the future.
And we have one that signed up already, and you know who you are, so you don't need to do it again. You're a friend of mine, so you're on the list.
Great. So tonight's theme for the show is constitutional carry. And, Judge, I'm sure you have a great deal of information on this.
I spent all day kind of getting up on this, but I don't want anybody that has a question about anything related to firearms, call us. And I do want to mention one thing. Last week we had a federal firearms licensee down in south part of the county mentioned a situation with Bud's Gun Store, which is a big gun store. I think they're in Illinois or Indiana, somewhere up there. But it was a little strange. It was he said that Bud's would actually send somebody that wanted to sell a gun a box, and then they would mail their gun in that box down to, let's say, him, the federal firearms licensee, without it ever going through buds. If that's the case, what I could tell, that violates the provisions, various regulations of the ATF. Now, I don't know if that's what buds does, but if it never goes through buds' hands, it's violating, I'm not going to say the law because they're different between law and regulations, but it's violating the ATF regulations. So I sure wouldn't be doing it, and I think our caller was a little suspect when he heard about what they were doing too.
All right, so if you'd like to call in on our show, you can call 251-343-0106, and we also take texts as well. So if you want to have your opinion heard on the radio, or you want to give us your opinion, please go ahead and text us 251-343-0106. So today's program is essentially around constitutional carry, and there's lots of different opinions on that, but we're going to try to steer clear of opinions and basically talk about what we know. And of course, the judge has extensive knowledge on the law and Alabama law. So, but my thoughts are here is that, we look at constitutional carry, we look at other rights, some of them very much defined in the Constitution, very much defined in the Bill of Rights, and also or defined in William and Mary, which is British common law.
Right.
But one of those major rights is we consider the right to vote a fundamental right, and that right we have, and we want that without impediment, or fines or
maybe
fees
you do.
being
I kind of
levied.
liked the system where it was male property owners only got to vote. But, surprisingly, while we laugh about it, that system did not exist very long in this country.
No, it didn't.
In England, up until World War II, I think only about 25% of the population could vote.
So,
which is amazing.
well, we consider that a fundamental right, and it is a fundamental right, as it should be. And that has been kind of amended over the years, like you had talked about. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. In the national, some of the states had allowed them to vote prior to 1920, but at a national level, the 19th Amendment gave them that right. The Voting Acts of 1965 gave all men and women the right to vote, as it should. So, with that said, you can go and vote. It doesn't cost you anything. At one time, there was a fee, even a poll tax.
And you don't have to pay money to go to church.
Yeah, exactly. So you can go to church and come and go as you please. So you can vote as you please, and there's no fee, there's no charge. But to exercise your
and this show is free.
Yeah.
Just being on the air is absolutely free. We shouldn't have said that.
So,
but
free unless you're an advertiser.
That's right.
So, but to practice or to carry your firearm, to exercise your fundamental right on carrying your firearm, as outlined in the Second Amendment, as outlined in the previous documents before that, the William and Mary, as I just mentioned earlier.
Or in some states,
you have
to $1,000.
Right, right. But here, even in Alabama, you have to pay a fee, and that fee is to purchase a pistol permit.
Right.
So there are a lot of states, and really a lot of them has come on within the last couple of years, has adopted what you would refer to as constitutional carry.
Right.
And so we'll go into that a little bit in detail on what states there are, what do the laws say. And some of those constitutional carry states, they do have some limitations. So there's probably about 12 of them, and then another 6 or so that has it, but with some type of limitation on that.
We got to get back to the idea that the states form the national government and not the other way around. And it's the difference between a federal republic, which we are, and a national republic, which we're not. And things have gotten turned upside down where we have the federal government pushing us around, and then, of course, the states have to raise money somehow because they're not they've been pushed out of the money game. But we can get into that when we come back. But we take your calls and text on anything related to guns here at the station. A text, we see the text here on the board, but that number for calls and texts is 343-0106. We'll be back on Armed Alabama.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I mean to kill you in 1 minute, Ned, or see you hanged in Fort Smith at Judge Parker's convenience. Which will it be?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
All right, we're back, and this is Armed Alabama. Just want to make a quick correction. The 15th Amendment actually gave African Americans the right to vote, and the Voting Act of 1965 really went to enforce that.
Of course, it just gave males the right to vote, male African Americans the right to vote.
So just want to make that correction.
You know, that's why this whole nonsense about the 14th Amendment is what they use to apply all the Bill of Rights to the states. That's where all this federal litigation comes from, is complete nonsense, because the 14th Amendment didn't even give African Americans the right to vote. So how did it give transgenders the right to use a bathroom? I mean, it didn't. All it did was to make sure that former slaves had equal rights as people who weren't slaves.
Yeah.
And like I said, it didn't even give them the right to vote. So how they can stretch that to say, under the 14th Amendment, and I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but that gay people have the right to be married is insane. It was happening through the legislative, the democratic process. States were voting on that. That's the way it should happen, not through a court decision.
So constitutional carry is a term used for the legal carrying of handgun, both openly and or concealed without the requirement of a government permit. So that pretty much reflects the view of the Second Amendment and the United States, where these you can constitutional carry. There's no restrictions, no permit on the gun owner.
And we had a poll, as a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, 100% were for constitutional carry.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You want to take Nancy there, who's called
Yes.
in?
Hi, Nancy. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
Hi. I have a question. I have 20 acres of farmland, and I've been told that, actually, I'm going to be purchasing a 20-gauge shotgun from a friend for sticks and various things on the property.
Okay.
Do I need a permit for the shotgun, or
Well,
Because
number
it's
one,
on
no.
property, am I allowed just to have it? Or
Yeah, you don't need a permit. In fact, you could not buy a permit for a shotgun. The only question would be, can you shoot it outside legally? Are you out of the city, out of the police jurisdiction of Mobile?
Yes.
Yeah, no, you don't need a permit or anything. You just, if there's a church nearby, I think we still have a law that you can't shoot within X number of feet of a church or when they're meeting. But I assume you don't have that situation. And
No, sir.
you can't shoot within a certain number of feet of a road, but, you know, anybody knows don't shoot at a highway. And don't shoot the traffic signs. I'm looking for a traffic sign in Alabama that has not been hit with a shotgun. So if you see one, please take a picture and send it to me. But no, you're fine. You're fine.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Nancy, for your question.
Have you noticed everyone's been blasted, looks like with buckshot? And we certainly wouldn't condone that, but it's just a phenomenon in the South, I think. You're on to something. McCulloch versus Maryland, which was an early Supreme Court case, said the power to tax is the power to destroy. And, a permit is a tax. Tax on guns and ammunition is a tax. And there's some states that have tried to tax basically firearms out of business. And that can be done pretty easily. Once you start down that road, then, you may have a right. It's like in Chicago, you have the right to get a permit, but it is so prohibitive. You're going to spend $1,000 to do that. And who can do that? Chicago, at one time, after the McDonald case was won, you had to take training. The problem was there were no shooting ranges allowed in Chicago. So where would you go to take the training? You'd have to drive out in the country. So it was just typical obstructionist every bit of the way in that state. And a state with one of the highest crime rates, or a city with one of the highest crime rates, and that's violent crime rate. We know that corruption in Chicago is, out of this world, but that's kind of hard to put your finger on that kind of thing. Remember, call or text 251-343-0106. We're not experts necessarily in Alabama law, but we know a little bit about Mississippi and Florida too. So we can give you an answer on that and tell you where to go, most importantly, because gun laws change all the time. And it's important that you get familiar with those laws. Want to comment on, we've talked about these fake gun signs, and Bel Air Malls apparently under new ownership, and we want to congratulate them because they have taken their fake no weapons or no gun signs down. And I hope it's not a mistake. I hope it is a new policy. So if you get by there or see the management, tell them good for you for taking those fake signs down, because the signs create a killing zone, a no-gun zone. And statistics after statistics tell us that criminals, people bent on mischief, people bent on killing, go to areas where there aren't guns, go to no-gun zones. And Bel Air Mall, wow, that's a big target. Somebody goes and sees no guns allowed, that's where somebody's going to be attracted to. So hopefully those signs will stay down and people can exercise their rights to go in there and carry their firearms, because very rarely does anything ever happen, a gun going off. That's what people are afraid of. Oh, I'm afraid to be around a gun. It might go off. That happens so rarely, your chance of being hit by lightning is about 100 times greater.
So, with all the other businesses or even state organizations, like we mentioned, I think last week on our show, about the removal of signs at rest stops,
right,
and other government facilities. So they have the responsibility, I think, to the people to be able to allow them to come in with a concealed carry, which is one of the reasons why I really don't shop there, because of that limitation.
Well, for two reasons. One is because I don't agree with their policy, but two, I think I'm in danger going in there, and everybody in there is in danger. So why on earth would you go in a place that you think that you or your family is in danger? That just makes no sense at all. And I think people that are knowledgeable about that realize that they're going into a place that they're putting themselves in danger. And it's just built on complete myths that, gun owners are dangerous, and they're not. I mean, we can show you the statistics one after the other. They make people who are not carrying guns safer just because of their presence there.
Right. And, there's a lot of argument that you hear about, well, how do you stop criminals from carrying firearms or getting a firearm? And that's the whole reason why we have a permit process, is to stop criminals from carrying firearms. A bad guy is going to carry the firearm regardless.
They're going to do it anyway.
That's why they're a bad guy. They're not. Exactly. They don't abide the law.
They don't respect the law, and so it's just like this criminal that needs to be executed, Madison, who killed a Mobile police officer 30-something years ago. He's claiming that he is mentally defective, and the reason apparently is he's been using drugs on death row. Can you imagine? So we can't keep drugs off of death row. I don't know how in the world we're going to keep them out of people's hands on the street. Criminals get stuff, and that's why, like you said, that's why they're criminals. So, he's had it there. I'll get on my rant again. Congress needs to remove jurisdiction from the federal courts to hear federal habeas corpus petitions from state death row inmates. That's something Congress gave them the jurisdiction to hear, and Congress can take it away by vote tomorrow. That's why Thomas Wisenhant took 35 years to be executed, and that's why this man's taking 35 years to be executed. It's absolutely ridiculous. By the way, Wisenhant was represented the entire time by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Imagine that. Alabama's homegrown terrorist organization.
Yeah, hate group.
They love to call everybody else a hate group and a terrorist organization. It looks like to me they're the biggest haters around.
And the only credibility they've gotten is what the news media has given them credibility. And you're like, who are those? Who are they? And why does their opinion matter? And their opinion only matters because of their being broadcasted on the airwaves or the TV.
Take advantage of it. Let's take a caller right after this break on Armed Alabama. We'll be back. Got the wrong hand signal. I think we have a caller there. Let's go ahead and take it.
Thank you, David. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
This is David. I just wanted to relay a story from when I was out in Vegas.
Right.
They have a open carry out there, and some gangbangers from Los Angeles came up and robbed a store out there. And he heard a click, and people tell him drop their weapon. Turned around, there were two of the customers in the store that had their weapons pulled and trained straight on them. He turned back around to the clerk, and the clerk had a gun on him. So all they could do was drop their weapons, and now they're serving time in prison. So just a anecdotal story to back up your statistics about how having people gun owners carrying guns makes people safer.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of statistics, yeah, thank you so much, David. Speaking of statistics, I recommend everybody going and checking out John Lott. John Lott, his website, he's got a tremendous amount of statistical information regarding concealed carry.
Right.
And, of course, he is the author of a well-known book, More Guns, Less Crime.
And he came down here.
Yes,
it's been
absolutely.
a lovely day with him.
Yeah. Got a chance to meet him. Very knowledgeable individual.
Don't go to his personal blog. It's the I'll get the name when we come back. It's the Center for Crime Prevention. Center for Crime Prevention. We'll be back after the break on Armed Alabama.
They're walking on the fighting side of me. They're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down a way of life our fighting men have fought and died to keep. If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're running...
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
Well, skies will be partly cloudy tonight. Look for isolated evening thunderstorms. Lows will be in the upper 60s at daybreak. For Wednesday, mostly sunny with isolated thunderstorms, highs near 90. And the outlook for Thursday, mostly sunny with afternoon readings near 90 degrees. This is meteorologist Dr. Boo Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5. Accusations against a teacher at Collins Road Elementary School. A father says Alice Nelson whipped his son with an extension cord.
We need to get this straight. There should never be a teacher that hurts a child and is allowed to get away with it, period.
Troy Forrester says the school system didn't give him any information until officials placed the teacher on administrative leave. Forrester is also pursuing criminal charges. 11 people died on Alabama roadways over the 4-day holiday weekend. 4 of the fatalities involved motorcycles. Troopers have identified the victim in last night's motorcycle crash near the intersection of Moffett and Temple Roads. 50-year-old Jeffrey Lee Gill of Citronelle. The Mobile City Council has decided to put off a vote on giving tax breaks to Bel Air Mall. The developer requested the delay. For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at RE/MAX Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
All right, we're back. This is Armed Alabama with host Judge Rusty Johnson and Adam Strange. We spoke just before the break about John Lott, and so we just want to clarify it's John R. Lott Jr., and his organization the judge was speaking about was Crime Prevention Research Center. So you can check out John on Facebook, on Twitter. I follow him. He always posts some very educational statistics and articles.
And I was telling Adam that he has been the target of a real smear job by the left over the past year, and his research is impeccable. Do not believe any. You'll see a post saying discredited researcher John Lott. He is not discredited. Adam and I know him. He's not discredited. Everything is right on. Over the past 6 months, he's testified, I know, before at least 6 state legislatures regarding actually campus carry mainly. They wouldn't have him testify if he was discredited. That is just a left-wing attack on the man. And the most disappointing thing I found out was to find that he is 4 months younger than I am. I couldn't believe it.
Now, I've also seen him on Fox News on several occasions.
Oh, yeah. But he has all the statistics on the killing, no-gun zones, attract killers, the whole thing. So he's really somebody that you should keep up with. Adam, I believe we have a call there, and maybe they can add something to. Is it Catherine?
Hi, Catherine. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
Oh, hi there. I was trying to find out. We were at the Tanny Hill State Park not long ago, and in the campground area, and there were on the campground rules, I guess, it said there were no firearms allowed. Is that correct?
Well, if you saw the sign, it was on the sign, but it's not legal. So, because I people send me those, and I look on them. They have, well, let me ask you this. They don't have armed patrols. Well, they don't have guards patrolling it while it's open, and they don't have some other kind of magnetometers or something like that to get in, do they?
Well, did have a patrol. I guess it was like a security, like I think it was like an SUV, like a Tahoe or something of the sort that would patrol through there, and where the tents and I guess the RVs were.
But they didn't have anything else, like you had to pass through some gate, with a magnetometer on it, or your card key. So yeah, they're not. And you're saying State Park. I'm vaguely familiar with it.
Yeah,
so something by the
Sandy
state.
Hill. It's right outside of Birmingham.
Right, between Birmingham and Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Right. If you go there regularly, take some pictures of it.
Okay.
You can email that to reports at Armed Alabama.
Okay.
Because
we actually did have firearms with us, and then of course, once we saw the sign, they were already in the tent. And
nothing can be done to you for that. It's just I get concerned because they're lying to you, and that's kind of bothersome to whoever's in charge of the park. Because they usually have these commissions that'll actually run the park, and they're usually good people, but they're lying to you. And if they lie about that, what else are they lying about? Their budget, or that concerns me. Yeah.
And we discussed this in the past. You can actually contact the Alabama AG's office over that, and you can go online on their website, and you can file a petition to bring enforcement action under Alabama Code 13A-11-61.3. I know that's a mouthful, but you can easily go online there and fill out that form on the AG's website.
Okay, on the Alabama Attorney General's website?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well,
look for that. It's not, you don't have to spend any money. You won't get in the middle of anything. They will write the state park and say, why are you doing this? Is it true you have these up? And if so, do you realize you can't have them up? And they'll usually take them down.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is something the AG does all the time. I mean, I'm constantly seeing on Yellowhammer News or one of the other news organizations where the AG's office requested, where it be a government entity or state entity, to remove those signs because they are in violation.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And again, the outrage, if people call and they protest or they voice their opinions, things happen within the Alabama government. Again, back to the rest stop signs. I mean, that was kind of a big outrage over that, and they were quickly dismissed and removed. So.
Well, I tell you, one person who wasn't responsive was the DOT director, because I personally called him, and I thought I was dealing with Heinrich Himmler of the SS. I mean, he wasn't responsive at all. I don't know whether he's still working there or not, but he sure doesn't need.
Well, he was appointed by Governor Bentley.
Yeah, right. So, when you get removed from the elected officials, they become a little less responsive. Adam, let me bring up a tip of the day. You all that own semi-automatics have magazines, and there are so few people that if you shoot your gun fairly often, you need to clean your magazines. Now, I have probably a weird way of doing it. You take the base. Some people call it base plate, butt plate, whatever.
Yeah.
You have to, most of the time you punch in on a little button type thing. Got to be careful because the spring will pop out. But I take mine apart, and I have got a little bowl of 91% alcohol. I just kind of soak it in there a minute and then run a claw through it and just get all the grit and grime and everything like that off of it. And I put it back together. I don't put oil on it. Now, some people put this dry silicone, I think graphite or whatever, dry lube on there. But the point is, they just need to be cleaned occasionally. If you're using them, dropping them in the dirt and all like we're doing. Now, if you never use it, that's a different story. But if you're out there actively shooting it like we are and dropping them in the sand, in the dirt and all, you just need to do that every once in a while. They're not maintenance-free. And I guess I'm remembering because I went on a kick this weekend and did that. And, a couple of them, I couldn't find the floor plate or anything, but got them all back together. And I shouldn't do that many at one time. But just think about that. There are a lot of different ways to do it, but just don't spray that WD-40 up in there, because that then attracts more of the grime and the sand right back on them.
All right, if you just joined us at the half an hour, today's program is about constitutional carry. And if you have any opinions or like to weigh in on the subject, call us at 251-343-0106, or you can text us at the same number. Judge, we've been talking all show about constitutional carry, and we talked about how, voting at one time you had to pay a fee or you had to pay a tax. And
I've actually got a receipt from my grandmother, a poll tax receipt that I found in a box. And I think that poll taxes were outlawed in like 61 or something like that, but it's neat to find that.
Well, it's all, was deemed unconstitutional to pay anything, regardless of a fine or a tax or whatever, when you vote. So the premise of the constitutional carry is you don't have to have a permit or anything. So if you can vote and exercise other constitutional rights, then why should one be charged a fee or a tax, whatever you want to call it, to purchase a pistol permit or what have you? So, and a lot of states are doing that, and we hadn't really had a chance to get to that.
Missouri, well, they passed the law, but they have a strange system. The governor hadn't signed it yet, and then they can come back if he vetoes it in September and override the veto, but it passed by such a large margin that they can override his veto. So the argument is,
the main arguments we hear is, how do you stop criminals from getting firearms? Well, the criminals are going to get firearms, and they're going to carry firearms regardless of what the law says. That's why they're criminals.
Right.
And the thing about this is when you levy fees or you have to jump through hoops to buy a permit or this, that, to me, that suppresses law-abiding citizens from exercising their right to carry firearms in defense of themselves or defense of their family. They have to take off time to work or what have you to go down and get a permit, which we've already described. The permit process here for Mobile County is very easy, $20 in 20 minutes.
But what if they decide they don't want to make it easy?
Well, at one time, our state was a may issue state.
Right.
Of course, now it is a shall issue state.
But they could, with a vote next week, have it not $20, $120. And that would start getting into people's pocket pretty badly.
So I've got some lists here of constitutional carry states, and they may be one have been added or whatever, but this is the latest list I found, and that's Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Ohio, Kansas, Maine, Mississippi, which I did not realize had been added, but the law had just changed in Mississippi. So, and then you have Puerto Rico, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. And there is some other states there. Wyoming one has some limits to that, and that limit to Wyoming is residents only.
Yeah.
So we mentioned Mississippi, and there's a lot of people in our listening area that live in Mississippi. Kudos to the governor there of Mississippi, Phil Bryant, and their legislators for doing that. And I've got some detail here on Mississippi's concealed carry law as of July 1st, 2015. Mississippi became a constitutional carry state. Now, there are some limitations there. Of course, they are an open carry state as well. So I'm trying to find the actual. Good for them. Yeah, absolutely. Good for them. I'm trying to find a little more detail.
Why are you looking?
Go ahead.
Some of these states that have these lock up your gun laws. John Lott was telling a story about these parents locked their guns up pursuant to California law, and their 15-year-old daughter that knew how to use a gun, she couldn't protect the younger children or herself when a maniac came in with a pitchfork. They were locked up, and there was no way to get in there, and he killed all 4 children with a pitchfork. So another brilliant law designed to keep guns out of children's hands. They are less than 50 children under age 12 accidentally killed with their own guns every year. There are more children than that drowned in jacuzzis each year. So it certainly doesn't warrant anything like that. It causes more harm than good. It's the do-gooders. We got a few minutes left, so if you want to get a call in or text, get it in here at the station, and that's 251-343-0106.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time.
Hey everybody, it's Kane. Join me this Saturday morning from 10 to 11 for Full Throttle Racing with Kane. The racing season is in full swing and we're starting to see tempers flare.
For that one way to block. To do that too, but I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to.
All the updates from the local tracks, regional tracks, all the way up to IndyCar, NASCAR, NHRA. If it's got wheels and they race it, we'll talk about it this Saturday on Full Throttle Racing with Kane. Brought to you by Mobile International Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, and Sunnyside Raceway right here on FM Talk 106.5.
Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org. Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at RE/MAX Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Now, summer is upon us. This is Judge Johnston with Armed Alabama. Summer is upon us, and a lot of you are going to be taking trips. And you'll have your Alabama handgun permit, but where can you go that you won't get in trouble? The best website to go to look that up is called www.handgunlaw, that's all one word, handgunlaw.us. You can hit Alabama, and it will tell you all the states that are have reciprocal agreements with Alabama. And then, as we've told you before, that just says who has reciprocal agreements. As to what the law is, let's say on self-defense, or whether you have to tell the police when stopped, if you had have a gun in the car. There are very few states that require that, but you're responsible for obeying the law in that state. So go to handgunlaw.us. You click the states you'll be traveling through, and it will tell you the laws of those states. It's a great source of information. I'm looking at it right now. Once again, www.handgunlaw.us. Handgunlaw.us. That's all one word, .us. So it's a great source, and in our class, it's one of the links that I give everybody.
Of course, when you're traveling, you need to, as you're going out in Mobile, you need to stop in at McCoy Outdoors.
You do. I was getting ready to bring up one thing you need to get at McCoy is the good holster, and we call it a high-rise holster because you need to be able to draw quickly. Now, I know a lot of people like purses and backpacks and all that, but if you can't draw quickly in a couple of seconds, let's give it 3.5 at the outside, you're going to be dead. If I have a lot of the small guns that I can dig deep in my pocket, but day-to-day carry, you got to be able to draw quickly. And, Adam, they have a whole line. They have every kind of holster. I have a 6-hour 230 or 232. It's the large frame 380. They had a Kydex level 2 retention holster for that gun, and I couldn't believe it, and even had a magazine holster in it. So what they have down there, equipment for guns, is just incredible, in addition to the guns themselves. So get on over to McCoy's. You can at least handle them with a salesperson, and that's real important. Get the feel. But they have cleaning supplies, which you need to do, and everything for sporting goods. It's Mobile owned and operated, which I think is very important these days, on Spring Hill Avenue, just west of the I-65 overpass in the old Woolco and K&B Shopping Center.
All right, Judge, going back to what we was discussing earlier about Mississippi, I definitely I couldn't find it in my notes, but now I've got it. You brought up just a second ago about handbags and satchels. The law of Mississippi as of July 2015 says that no license shall be required under this section for a loaded or unloaded pistol or revolver carried in a purse, handbag, satchel, or other similar bag or briefcase or fully enclosed case. Of course, that's one of the things we kind of harp on about carrying your firearm in your purse or in your bag because it's dangerous to do that.
That's the target of a thief.
Yes. So, but on April 15th of this year, 2016, the law was further expanded to include belt or shoulder holster and sheath. So this effectively allows constitutional carry in Mississippi. However, some forms of concealed carry will still require a permit. They actually have, and I have to go back and look at this, but they had expanded carry where you'd have to go and you could, go through a class and you would test at the end of the class period and you can apply for an expanded carry, concealed carry permit, and that would allow you to carry essentially on state property and police stations and so forth. But you actually had to go through a class and through an 8-hour program to do that.
But it was real. You could take it about everywhere, federal property.
Yes, yeah. And it was a good program, too, good class. And so what happened there is you had a lot of people were trying to outdo the Joneses. One guy took it, his buddy took it, and his next buddy took it because they took it. And you wound up with a state of individuals that were competent with their firearm. So just wanted to bring that up. But you can go online, you can see all the different states that have constitutional carry. Again, there are some states that have it, but they may have restrictions. So you may want to be mindful of that.
Yeah, it's
if
really,
you're traveling.
And, it's amazing. People say, well, if I don't have as much, of course, the New York police miss 80% of the time when they're shooting at somebody. But somebody just with a firearm can keep, let's say, 3 terrorists pinned down by just firing at them. If somebody had a firearm in Paris when they were all up to that no good, just slowing them down for 10 minutes would have disrupted their whole plan. Because that's the common argument. Oh, well, what could you do if there were a group of terrorists? Terrorists generally are cowards because they've got the guns. And when they meet somebody else with the gun, it'll disrupt their whole plan. Now, we, of course, in our class say don't be a hero. Don't try to do anything like that. But like it or not, somebody's going to do that. Somebody's going to be the hero. And I'm glad there are heroes out there. And when that happens, they're going to meet them and probably delay them, if not hurt somebody.
Yeah, and that same thing applies to criminals, where as terrorists, they may have definitely some type of training, but may not necessarily be proficient, or they can be proficient depending on the organization. But criminals, for the most part, aren't proficient at all.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many of them that I saw in court that would that have a broken firearm, or that have a firearm that wasn't loaded properly. It was really amazing when that would happen. But it happened, all the time. Let's try to get this caller in if we can. Is it Cecil?
Yes, sir. I got a quick question.
Yes,
it's
sir.
Probably something I could look up on the Internet. Tomorrow night I'm headed over to New Orleans Airport. I'm not going into the airport, obviously, but is there anything along my route that I'd have to worry about as far as open carry? Any state laws I'd need to be aware of?
Let's see. Mississippi, you'd be, if you got an Alabama permit.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You are going to be fine, I think. to make sure, I'd cover it up just to make sure, because Louisiana, they have a tendency, even when things are legal, to see if they can extract a little money out of you.
Well, they're the same as Mississippi. Mississippi, you can carry your firearm in your car loaded without a permit, and Louisiana as well.
But I'm talking about let's say you're walking and going into the filling station, and I'm just concerned in Louisiana, they may say, that's not exactly legal, and try to hit you up for a fine or something. You saw what the police did in New Orleans right after Katrina. They were totally lawless. So I just might put a light windbreaker over there when I got in Louisiana.
I appreciate it. I want to get my babies back home, and I don't want to be accosted along the way.
Yeah, I got you. And I wouldn't go over there without a firearm. I'm with you.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah.
One 1911 and 15 magazines. I'm good.
Good for you.
All right, thank you, Cecil. All right, Judge, we have a text, and very quickly, we may have to hold this over to another show, but I think it's a good text. It says, talk about school zones. As a teacher, I can't carry on the premise. I can't have a gun in my car, ? So I guess they're asking, can I have a gun in my car on
the
school
law
property?
says if you have a pistol permit and that you can take one on a school property, the law says if you have a gun and go on a school property intending to do harm, you can't. Her problem is she's governed by an employment contract, and her employment contract has rules and regulations, and it's the thing that says she can't have one on the school property and all of that. And she didn't want to lose her job. That's the problem.
So thank you for answering that, Judge. All right, we're coming to the end of our show. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please support those advertisers that support Armed Alabama Radio. We've vetted each one of them. Those advertisers are David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, Mamoon Siddiq at Remax Realtors, and, of course, McCoy Outdoor Company. If you would like to advertise your business on Armed Alabama, please call us or the station, or you can email us. Go to our website, armedalabama.com. Join us next week for Armed Alabama.
And I wonder just how long the rest of us can count on being free. They love our milk and honey, but they preach about some other way of living. And when they're running down our country, man, they're walking on the back